think you should always pursue your dream. I think that it's really important to take risks when you're young, and if you want to be involved with film, you need to move to Los Angeles, or you need to move to New York, or you need to just pick up the camera in wherever you're located and then start to shoot your film. I remember someone at the WB, when I worked at the WB television network, called and they were complaining about programming, and I said, well, you just need to move out to LA. You need to just get involved.
Hello and welcome to This Train, the podcast, where we talk about all things the making of the movie This Train. Today's special guest is Elizabeth Luger, who is our executive producer and also my wife. My name is Jack Luger, writer and director of the movie, and I'll be your host. Hello and welcome to This Train, the podcast, a podcast about the making of the film This Train. Today I have a special guest with me, someone who is near and dear to my heart, actually my wife, Elizabeth, who is our executive producer. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk about this process of putting this film together. You were there from the very, very beginning, and the very beginning meaning not only 4 years ago when I started dreaming about this and maybe talk to you about it, but you were there 30 plus years ago when we were together in college, and I talked about making movies and that dream that I had.
Yeah.
And so what do you remember though, really back to the beginning of this film, how that process kind of came together?
So I just remember you started writing the project and creating the idea. It evolved, and then you shared it with me, and you talked a little bit about, you took me to meet one of the people you thought would be good in the film.
Okay. So as Ed and I went back and looked at the process, I presented the script to Ed. I went and watched him perform, kind of just making sure that he could do what I thought he could do, what I was told he could do. And so then you and I together went up to Anderson, to a bar that he was playing at, to watch him kind of play a variety of covers of popular songs and so forth.
Yeah, and you said, what do you think? And it seemed like it was a good fit, and the project just started to continue to evolve at each and every level.
Okay, great. What was your favorite part in putting this together?
My favorite part was the completion, actually. So I always love to see something come together, and I like to see that end result. So my favorite part was seeing you craft a story and then be able to direct it and then edit it together, be proud of it, and the fact that it made it to the Heartland Film Festival, and the fact that it made it out to the Chinese Man Theater was a real highlight. It's definitely something that I will always remember, and I think that it was incredible. It was great.
There's a lot to unpack there, I guess. The idea of being proud of something, that was probably my struggle in a lot of ways through all the work that I had done and the creative work, was that I never felt like I had gotten to the end of something and could be proud of it. Mm-hmm. Worked on a lot of projects, especially ones that maybe I was producing or writing, and the final product would come in and it wasn't what I had hoped it was going to be. Mm-hmm. But this project was that, in a sense, and part of it is because I felt like I had the control. So it fell on me to actually fulfill those things: writing, directing, producing, acting, so that when I look back on it, and I don't believe I've created a perfect film, but I hit a lot of the marks that I wanted to, where I can watch it now and go, well, we really did what we set out to do.
Yeah, it's really nice. I would turn it on and watch it on Prime and have a good time. Yeah. Actually,
I've seen the film a lot of times, but I'm still willing to. Well, that's probably true. Yeah, I'm willing to go back and watch it more, even though I've seen it probably 100 plus times over and over in my mind. The other thing you talk about is getting to the Heartland Film Festival, getting to the historic Chinese theater in LA. Heartland was a really good goal for us, and goes probably actually to deadlines. We got the film made because when Ed and I sat down with the script, we picked a date, July 9th, 2022, to shoot. We had that deadline, and we knew that we were going to do it when we talked to anybody. That's what we were saying. We're shooting these days. We had it nailed down, and so it gave us a year then to plan that out. And then on top of that, after we got done shooting, Heartland was the goal. Can we get into the Heartland Film Festival? That was what people would say, what are we going to do with this film? And I was like, I want to get into the Heartland Film Festival.
And I think keeping on those deadlines, you actually scheduled out those couple weeks in July so that everybody who was involved in the production process and everybody, I guess the cast and the crew, right? They were all scheduled for those days, so you had to hit those marks and be able to complete the shooting on time.
Well, we had obligations then, right?
Yes,
so
and locations, being at people's homes and their properties, so you needed to be there and be done by a certain time.
Yeah, I can't remember who I was talking to, just kind of about the idea of burning ships, right? It's like you burn the ships, so there's no retreating. I think that's a war analogy, right? Where there's no retreating because you burn the ships, so you have to move forward. And I feel like we set these dates, we got people involved, and so at that point we had to keep moving forward. And so setting Heartland as a deadline to get the film edited and done and delivered was really important.
Right.
Then on top of that, the opportunity to get to take the film to Los Angeles, to the Chinese theater, and go full circle. And I think back, we moved out to Los Angeles in 1994, and literally 30 years later, we actually are screening a film at the Chinese theaters.
Yep.
We first went out in 1994, we saw Pulp Fiction with a friend of yours from work. We then went out to the Daily Grill for dinner, and just a memorable moment, right? The first time. When was the first time you went to Chinese theater?
Oh, right. Yeah, no, it was incredible. Or when you remember rollerblading and taking the picture of the Hollywood sign behind us, and when we went back, we went and took that same Hollywood sign picture.
Going back to relive some of those moments, because certainly full circle when we went back out there in February. We've talked about some of your favorite moments or about it. What maybe was one of your worst moments or least favorite moments in the experience of making this film?
So that's probably the process of editing at our house with all of the sounds and the train blaring, seemed like blaring through my bedroom when I was trying to go to sleep. So that would be probably not a least favorite moment, but yes, it took a long time, and sometimes when I wanted to go to sleep, I couldn't, so.
Yeah, well, editing at home, as being not probably the most skilled editor, I was constantly having to go back and it's part of editing anyways. I think it's like ironing, right? You move forward and you have to go back. And so, yeah, there's a lot of trains in the film anyways. I would edit at work a little bit, not during work, but just at the computers at work using those, and Chris would come in and go, I always know you're here because I always hear that
the train,
the train,
yeah, I know,
or
right?
a certain song that would be playing at the beginning of the film. So I kind of had my signatures where I couldn't hide from anybody while editing.
I don't know. I grew up in Chicago, so there was always trains, and you're always very specific about not being on the train track when you live in Chicago.
What advice would you give someone, a youngster who's saying, I want to make a film? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think you should always pursue your dream. I think that it's really important to take risks when you're young, and if you want to be involved with film, you need to move to Los Angeles, or you need to move to New York, or you need to just pick up the camera in wherever you're located and then start to shoot your film. I remember someone at the WB, when I worked at the WB television network, called and they were complaining about programming. And I said, well, you just need to move out to LA. You need to just get involved. So if you are wanting to get involved, I think you just start where you're at and then either move out to one of the places that does entertainment, or you just pick up your camera and go for it.
Yeah. There's no shortage of opportunity.
Yep.
We in this situation made our opportunity, but we also lived the Hollywood life, and the so-called Hollywood life, where we moved out to Los Angeles and we roughed it and scratched and clawed our way into the business, and was a rewarding experience in a lot of ways. It was an exhausting experience in other ways. I always think it helped me cut my teeth as a writer, as a producer, but it also really pigeonholed me in a sense as to what I did. You are a specialist a lot of times when you're working in Hollywood, but when you make a micro-budget film, you become a generalist or a specialist in some areas and a generalist in others, because you're doing everything, right? I wrote, I directed, I edited, I produced. I didn't do it all by myself. I had lots of help in between, obviously people such as yourself and Ed and Julia and John, all these people that came alongside to do their job. But at the same time, if I was out in Hollywood, I wouldn't be making a micro-budget film. I'd be partnering in a TV or film project potentially.
Yeah, and I think this was an incredible, rewarding experience to have a couple things. To have our kids on the film, because our all of our children were involved in some aspect. Our youngest son acted in it, and then our daughter, who had gone to Purdue University, was the first AD, and our son-in-law helped on the weekends if he was in town, and then our son, he just filled in anywhere, and then our daughter-in-law helped with props. So everybody had this space, and then all the different actors who kind of came into the like Reggie and Thomas. I thought, on top of everybody else, just were great.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a family affair, which was fun for me to get the kids involved. I say kids, they're mostly
adults.
Well, most of them are just adults. We saw that with Ed's family and his boys working on it, being a part of it. That was a lot of fun to do that as a family. Especially for, I think, us, Ed and myself as dads, enjoying seeing our kids chip in.
Yeah, and there was one fun fact. I didn't really realize the two boys were Ed's sons because they look nothing like Ed.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't involved in that kind of aspect. I didn't know they were his boys.
Yeah. So, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Yeah.
So those are fun things to get our family involved, and I don't know that many of them are eager to do another film with us, but we're eager to maybe make some more projects. That's kind of the goal, is to take Luger Media and maybe do another feature at some point down the road, do some short documentaries and so forth. Mm-hmm. Would you do it again if you had the chance?
I would, definitely. So, yeah.
This is my documentation evidence.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. There's so many things that we enjoy talking about and thinking about with this film as a memory, but we're still living it as we share it with others. And we really appreciate it if you go watch This Train, find it on Apple TV+, find it on Amazon DVD, or in the streaming options. There's more platforms coming online as we speak. So check it out. I would love to hear back from you. Give us some feedback on the film. We feel like we've made something that we can be proud of and that you'll enjoy, and also have a challenging story. It is a drama, but appropriate for family.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it. So, as I've said, I could not have made this film without Elizabeth. This is truly was a family affair, and obviously value your contribution in so many ways, not just financially and committing to that, but your emotional support and just commitment to being there no matter what. So thank you for joining us on this episode of This Train, the podcast. Join us again for future episodes. And again, thank you to Elizabeth for joining us today. I appreciate it very much.
To everybody who was involved in the project.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of This Train, the podcast. Please check out future episodes where I talk to other members of the cast and crew. Until then, take care.